it hollow?
Mm,
Do they
uh, okay. I mean,
they
it's
know it's
they they know. I said in lobby like it says Super Spider Queen, but it's Cursed Hollow. I mean,
um
it's not the worst first ban.
hey,
I
maybe they
see they
know
know.
something about the other team. Maybe somebody likes to play Zool.
Well,
Maybe they're going Butcher or Greymane because I consider Zool to be, pretty mean against those guys. I hope we go Butcher. First pick
oh,
Butcher straight out of the gate.
haymakers early. Zagari is going to be the ban for Envenom. Pepperidge Farms remembers has the first pick. I mean the Zool ban. If Zool is able to kill their opponent, by themselves in the bottom lane, out whatever lane they end up in, or if he's just left to his own devices during his tribute phases, you could lose a fort pretty early. But the Kerrigan pickup, not exactly Butcher, but
I think that's why there's the Zool ban. I really see Zool as like a pretty good counter for the dive type heroes. If they dive in, it's really hard for them to get out, especially when you have that bone prison. You only have 2 seconds. A cleanse can help, but if that cleanse isn't there, you're trapped and you're stuck deep, and Kerrigan needs to move. So I'm okay with that now.
it's it's gutsy. Like it says we are looking to team fight. We're looking to gank early, which can be something of a chore on Cursed Hollow with the slower mount speeds these days. But
My favorite thing is that it means that it's going to happen, and that's cool. Like there's going to be some fighting.
all right, cool, Mike. Yeah, I just hit so glad it's there. Murden Falstad, nice couple of heroes picked up for Envenom. Falstad could potentially steal bosses, fly to different lanes. Mobility is king on this map. It's a nice pairing, I feel.
Do you remember what I said about Falstad earlier?
I do. I
See how
do.
he's played.
Falstad isn't really known as the burst hero that he once was. He does offer some utility on a larger map like this. We will see how he's played.
If you don't take an advantage of that, then I mean, it used to be very forgiving. Falstad was very forgiving. Like if you didn't get the true soak that you intended to, at least he still brought a lot to the team fight. Now, if you don't get every bit of soak out of Falstad, who flies down and stays up at the right time, stuff like that, Falstad's a busted pick now. Like you have to play him a lot more fine-tuned than you could get away with before, and Brightwing mitigates a lot of that. But at the same time, Brightwing has a few flaws of her own, but I think she's a bit more of a safer pick than Falstad right now in terms of if you're looking for global heroes.
I would agree with that. Brightwing has a true global in her teleport. I think it's easier to get value out of that hero. All you gotta do is sit around your teammates and you're healing them. That's not really that much of a skill shot. And Polymorph is point and click. So my eyes are definitely going to be on Falstad. Can he land those? Presumably, if they go for the mage stat build, they can land those Qs and really lock in that burst. I guess we'll see, though.
Curious if we're going to see an Ariel ban, if maybe like Pepperidge has been watching some of the competitive scene, and Ariel with a Brightwing. Brightwing, as you just said, gives those passive heals. It's super easy to do. And then Ariel can, there it is. Look at that. Look at that. I like it. It's a good ban.
I agree. Very meta conscious decision. I casted a game last night, Jay. Ariel Uther and Butcher is incredibly tough to deal with.
Straight bullies.
Like, Butcher had no health for a good 5 seconds, and everybody was wailing on him, but he would not go down, and then they ended up winning the team fight, and it was just like, I don't know what you do for that. Like, there's a lot of survivability there.
Well, the support choke I like right now. I mean, they're going to be forced to go into an Uther right now. I mean, there's not a whole lot I guess you could go with Oriole and Rhaegar being taken off. So I like that. The fact that Oriole was banned and then Rhaegar was there, it's really good. And the thing about Brightwing is that it really mitigates a lot of dive heroes. And so when you look at the side of Envenom, it almost seems like when you have a Brightwing against you, it's really hard to dive against. So that's when we tend to see a little bit of a double warrior because it's a little bit I guess you're not punished as much if you get polymorphed on the front line. Whereas if you're somebody like Butcher or somebody like that, if you're diving in or any other type of melee hero, then it's tough. But it's a good counter pick right now. Good drafting, I think, by both teams.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see how Envenom plays Uther. With Kerrigan being picked up for Pepperidge Farms, remembers they're definitely, in my opinion, slanting towards single target, we are going to detonate you before you can move, kind of an engagement for a team fight. Uther excels at single target healing, so if he's able to position himself well and respond to that, Pepperidge Farms might have just shot themselves in the foot.
I was gonna ask, are you surprised you haven't seen Li Ming yet? Now, here's the thing: is this side, I wouldn't be surprised if they went something like Tassadar, like keeping Tassadar there for the extra shields onto Kerrigan. I think it's a full possibility. It's not as meta, especially with the inclusion of Ariel and everything like that. But they also need to have somebody that can be that backline damage dealer. And between like maybe a Jaina or Lunara right now, that's really what they're gonna have to look at unless they want to go kind of old school with the KT.
Yeah, we don't see the Fire Mage that much, even in Share League. But I agree. I think Lunara would be a really strong choice here for Pepperidge Farms members. One of the counters to Uther, I feel, is Lunara. That continuous poison damage does a lot to negate the burst healing that he has.
But Vala got reworked. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean,
she's not bad.
If she's able to play, if you can play to that reworks ability and keep the hatred stacks up, she can run a team. Oh.
The other thing about going back to the Tassadar thing is that Kerrigan can get shielded, plus she can sustain a little bit so long as she's not staying in. But Vala, remember, Vala relies on keeping up the auto attacks and to be able to like continue to have that sustained damage. And sometimes that puts you in really tricky spots. And to be able to have Tassadar to enable somebody like Vala is really good. I'm just curious what we're going to see out of Envenom. The fact that they kind of saved that last pick for that flex. Sylvanas, I think, is a really good choice for either of these teams to be able to bring at least some type of split lane pressure. Or if Vala's in trouble, you just throw a little bit of touch on her. Forcibly.
I was thinking Medivh would be a really good choice for Pepperidge Farms members. You got the Force of Will to keep Kerrigan up. That's a long time, 1.5 seconds to not take any damage. And if things get too shaky, a portal's a free ticket out of there. So you have the dive and the escape, along with what Kerrigan brings to the table. If they can pull it off, they have the skill to do it.
What have you been seeing out of Johanna? Have you had a chance to cast her since her Condemn rework, since it's no longer talentable? It's only 200% damage now? Like, I haven't got to see anything yet.
She is not the wave clear beast that she used to be. I think the bigger loss is not having the stun on the minions more than the damage reduction itself. But against a heavy auto attack composition, the reinforced talent at 1 gets a ton of value these days.
All right, there's the double warrior frontline that I kind of was talking about before. I like that. We talked about boss control, or you did earlier, boss control and stuff like that. I mean, between Muradin, who is, just doesn't like to die, Uther, D-Shield, Falstad, Mighty Gust, Holy Ground for Tyrael at some point, Sanctification at level 10. They have ultimate boss control. If they want to invade anything, they have full power to do whatever they want. So I'm kind of curious if they're going to try and take advantage of that when they have the opportunity. I think that's huge for them. I don't mind Pepperidge's draft at all. I'm just really curious how they're going to fit Medivh into their combo, because I don't really see what Medivh brings to their comp outside of being able to keep Kerrigan alive. And they're depending a lot on Kerrigan. Muradin stun, Uther stun, Li Ming damage, Tyrael right on top of you. Could get a little bit scary if they go a little bit too hard, but they have the tools, I think, to make it work.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think one of the big keys to Pepperidge Farm's success is going to be Master's Touch at level 7. If Medivh is able to complete that quest, I do think that they'll have enough damage to deal with the quasi-support nature of Tyrael, along with Uther's single-target healing. But they're really going to have to time and space their damage out to deal with Sanctification and Divine Shield. They have the work cut out for them, I think.
I'm excited. All these new meta heroes are just... Like, Afro Puff is on Kerrigan, has the new Kerrigan skin. I totally hope he's on, like, the red version of the Light Cycle to go with the red Kerrigan skin. It's such a good combo.
I'm hopeful. You know, I have that skin. I've not yet played Kerrigan with that skin. Well, I haven't played her since thing. But,
It's pretty awesome. Like,
oh,
it
it's
actually
neat.
looks really, really cool.
We're gonna see it in action. I was thinking as far as a theory for draft. If I was Envenom, I was gonna strongly consider ETC for that Tyrael slot, and you just like make Kerrigan rue the day she tries to jump in because it's just like power slide stunned forever. Like you're just gone, and then Vala's like, oh, well, I guess it's all on me now. This is tough.
Well, the new ETC I'm really curious about. His talent changes are so drastic in terms of not necessarily the changes in talent so much as the changes in tiers. I was looking through it earlier on the PTR. I mean, it is such a huge difference. I really feel like it's going to make ETC kind of fit more towards. I think he can play a bruiser role. I'm not sure if people will play him that way, but I definitely think there's a lot more possibility. I still think he's going to be just fine as a solo warrior. Kind of the way I see Tyrael right now.
I mean, he's in effect a new hero. I think people will mourn the loss of how ETC used to handle. It's gonna take a lot more creativity to really get used to like power sliding over walls and stuff. Like no one's used to that sort of thing. Both against and for.
I haven't done camera controls or
You
been
hit
on
O,
this
then
side.
C?
Yeah, well, no, I just haven't done this in a long time. It feels weird.
Welcome
Like
back.
I've been having somebody do it for me for so long.
You should be able to follow me around at least.
Nope. I gotta practice.
All right, well, there you go. Oh, on the left side, we got Pepperidge Farms. Remember, it's Hardwood's playing Brightwing. Afropuff 9000 on Kerrigan. Dorian's playing Johanna. Doug Funny 13. Quailman's on Vala. And Flavor Flav playing Medivh.
I got Envenom on the right,
Yep.
and that's gonna be Mike Black on Falstad, Jim on Uther, Trilobit on Li Ming, Flava Flav just scouting everything out, Delmo on Tyrael, and Arcandiel on Murden.
Doug Funny poking Polymorph as well. Flavor Flav just being that annoying bird floating over. Like, that's top 5 pet peeves for me. When you just see Medivh floating over your head and there's just nothing you can do about it. And it's just like, all right, man. You don't have to be here right now.
All right, so a little bit different choices that I didn't expect to see. We're gonna see Stable Portal, not the manual control there, and then Monster Hunter from Vala. That is not something I've been seeing so much in the huge competitive nature, but when you look at Vala and the changes it requires you to keep those hatred stacks up and the movement speed, it just kind of allows you to move around. Maybe you're on Cursed Hollow, you don't necessarily have to worry as much about your movement, but quite a bit of damage going out here from Envenom. They're just poking away, forcing back Brightwing and Johanna, but they're not afraid.
I think in theory there could be a lot of value to be had out of Monster Hunter, and that poke is hitting Dorian the hard way. Going up against Uther and Tyrael, these fights could become prolonged, and I think they might be banking more on the mana reduction aspect of that talent. Having 30 mana off each one of those gives Val a lot more staying power in these team fights, and if they do win them, they can get value out of the siege. So we'll see. We don't see that too often.
Yeah, they don't have a ton of wave clear. Kerrigan, she can, but if she gets pressured just a little bit, it makes it very hard for her to go. But in the middle, I mean, it's just kind of like this 3-man. I'm really surprised we don't see Envenom being a little bit more aggressive with their early game comp. I really think that they have the higher damage potential and a little bit better to push them back. But right now, they haven't really been able to take too much advantage of it. Flava Flav says, "I've got eyes on you, Li Ming."
It's hard to get ganks when you got Flavor Flav on Medivh just being that bird with constant vision. Doug Funny and Mike Black outside of Flavor Flav just kind of squaring off here in the mid. Even so, both teams are level 4, but like you said, neither team is really committed to securing ganks or going for these camps.
Yeah, I mean, we've hit that 2.5-minute mark. We should be spawning here in the next few seconds. There's only like 3 different windows with which it'll come to. The other interesting thing, especially when you look at Cursed Hollow, is the fact that at the 2-minute mark, a lot of people stopped prioritizing siege camps and they started going bruiser camps. But with the changes now, those just now spawn. So it changes the dynamic of Cursed Hollow pretty significantly. And that's one of the big changes I think we have to look at when you look at map changes.
Yeah, I mean, the nuanced macro play has huge implications in how you rotate. Even sometimes the heroes that you select. Having a jungler used to be really important for those siege camps, but when this timing gets changed, it's a whole different thing. Big fight going on. Dorian getting poked down. Forcible has to get used. This is just getting started, Jay.
Yeah, but Dorian in all kinds of trouble. The Iron Skin, but Tyrell's going to go down. Let's see if he can take anybody with him. Kerrigan is going to get blown up. And now we see Mike Black. There's some of the aggression that I wondered if we were going to see out of Falstad. And a little bit split right now. It looks like the first tribute is going to go to that of Envenom. Nicely played there. I mean, yeah, they lost Tyrell early, but they were able to put so much pressure on Johanna that they controlled that fight.
Yeah, Mike Black and Trilobit both did a good job zoning out for their teammates to get that first tribute. I'm wondering if that's going to inspire a change in prioritization for Pepperidge Farms members. Taking down Tyrell first actually ended up costing them that fight effectively. You got to watch out for those Tyrell bombs.
You know, you talked about it earlier about trying to punish Kerrigan on that front line, depending on how it looks. Charged Blast being picked up for Li Ming. So I'm curious if they're looking to just get that. I mean, Li Ming doesn't hit the back line with auto attacks, so she's going to be looking to target that front line between Johanna, between Kerrigan, try and put that damage on. Jim's looking for Doug. I like all the first names that we've got going here. Doug's got to be careful.
Oh, Jimbo. Uther rotates down, finds Dorian. They're just like, hey. Like, no attempt.
Each other. See you in a bit.
But look at that. The siege camp was picked up in the bottom right corner of the map with the tribute being up here in the top part. Potential value.
That's a pretty big deal. I mean, level 7 was picked up for both people. Repeating arrow, as you talked about, going into kind of this Hungarian arrow build, it's a lot different as Brightwing's starting to polymorph in, trying to be able to give a little bit of defense. But two members are at the bottom, and they're now going to rotate up. I'm curious if Falstad's going to go ahead and be aggressive. Kerrigan staying down there. Medivh just now rotating up. Falstad is going to fly in, and this should give them a pretty good advantage right now.
Yeah, Hardwood's poked down. Flavor Flav is here in position to help. He'll come out of the bird form in a potentially rough spot if he does it now. And that's what he does. Mike Black and Delmo pushing Dorian out of there. I do think this is the second tribute.
I mean, that siege camp forced Kerrigan to stay at the bottom, and of course they had Falstad down there, not keeping Brightwing. Nice body block there to keep the shots away, but Dorian taking quite a bit of damage, and there's the portal a little bit late, but either way, 2 tributes to 0. Right now, things looking really good for Envenom.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned changes to the maps. The mount speed has huge implications on a map like Cursed Hollow. Kerrigan's like, I'm 10% slower coming from the bottom. It literally makes no sense for me to stay here, clear out this wave, and then try to rotate up because it's going to be over by the time I get there. So, nice play.
Yeah, Delmo and Mike Black, of course, these camps take a little bit longer to spawn now. Delmo, he's going to go ahead and Hearth back. Everybody going to get their mana back. A little bit of an experience lead. So if the fight draws out on the next tribute, it could spell trouble, especially if you look at level 10, if they're able to get a pick. That is Envenom, if the red team is able to get any pick at all, and then try and hit 10, and then they get the curse, that could be huge and a big momentum swing. And then, of course, when you get a momentum swing like that and that big of a lead, it can be, I don't want to say snowballing and Cursed Hollow, but it definitely puts the game firmly in your grasp, and it's really hard to actually mess that up.
Yeah, it effectively becomes your game to lose. As long as you continue to rotate well, you don't get caught out, you don't make any mistakes, you have a very good chance of success. This is going to be a big moment. Heroics are here, though. Q-Blast goes out on Afro Puff, forcing back Kerrigan, and that's a lot of their engage, Jay.
Yeah, Dorian was on complete lockdown. Level 10, not quite here, so it's still even. But the Seeker missiles do land it in deep. That's going to be Afro Puff taking all kinds of damage. The Force keeping it alive, but the Orb comes in for the kill. The stun follow-up. Look at the damage going out. Flav. Time has run out on that clock, buddy. And now we have the curse. And this is exactly what I just talked about, Halorn. Now, all of a sudden, they have a level and a half lead. Dorian just committed suicide, and they're going to be able to take advantage of this curse. I mean, they can go straight in and start doing damage on the keep wall and let the minions push in the back. Or just go back and secure it.
I mean, this is huge. It's effectively dealer's choice for them right now. You got the Bruiser camp getting value mid. Locked down because of the curse. That's probably going to drop. You're going to see the bottom fort go down as well. 3 members. They could effectively start this boss as well. Like, every option that they want to take is available to them right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have level 10. Of course, level 10 is going to be picked up by the Pepperidge farm, which it's fine. You know, that puts them on even ground. But Tyrael already rotating to the top. The rest of the team, they're going to go up. Now, this is an opportunity, actually, for Pepperidge. If they do want to try and take a fight, they can. There's a lot of pressure in the bottom lane, but there's really not anything. They need to get on their boss. Like, right now, the only play that should be in for Pepperidge Farm is to be on their boss. They haven't even started. They're on their siege camp. This is what I'm saying. Level 13 is going to be here in a minute. Tyrael's going to go down and scout this out. This is a huge mistake right now for Pepperidge Farms, and if this continues, they're in trouble.
Yeah, the macro play makes itself evident here. They do pick up the bruiser camp, but in the grand scheme of things, I think the most efficient route would have been to go for the boss. Even though you lost out on the curse, trading bosses out effectively, at the very least, takes away the double boss option away from Envenom. So this could have a huge impact. Flavor Flav getting damage. Force of Will is not going to be there. Medivh goes down.
Flavor Flav. Man, I told you. Envenom is playing this about as well as they possibly could have. The fact, am I following you or am I following a person? Oh, there we are.
I'm watching this team fight where Hardwood and Doug Funny are having a whale of a time.
Nice shots there by Trilobit. He landed that perfectly, and that's going to be an instant rotation on the boss. The boss up top is going to take out the fort. They're going to be able to take the boss on the bottom, and Envenom is playing this absolutely perfect. I said if they get the pick right around the time of the curse, they get a couple picks, all of a sudden they have this huge lead. It's a 2-level lead. Pepperidge Farms didn't get on the boss, knowing good and well, they should have known that was going to be the play on the side of Envenom. They could have been able to trade bosses, give up the next tribute or two until they get to 13, and then have an even game and a window for them to capture and catch up. They've made mistakes. Envenom hasn't. Well, Lauren, they have a 2-level lead.
They have a tier advantage, 2 bosses. This boss is healthy, ready to rock and roll. It's going to be difficult to withstand this push, being down a talent tier. I feel bad for Avropuff 9000 because he needs to land like the god tier Kerrigan combos to really take some of these team fights, and it just hasn't really happened for him yet.
Yeah, it hasn't, you know, and now this is a big moment for this boss to push in. I don't think they're going to get a keep. They have the potential if they want to try and dive and get a kill, but Li Ming continuing to land the shots is doing a phenomenal job. Trilobit, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him. Falstad, you know, it was the biggest question I had is, what's the Falstad play going to be like? And so far, they've utilized Falstad's global mobility perfectly. He cleared up that middle camp that was pushing mid. They haven't sustained hardly any structure damage. He just captured another tribute. They have a talent tier advantage. Think about this, Lauren. Level 13 could be picked up by Pepperidge, and that's fine. And then the minute anything gets even halfway questionable, you have a Mighty Gust, disengage, you wait till 16, and then you re-engage and force your advantage onto the enemy team. Envenom is in an absolutely perfect position right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the quintessential definition of being in the driver's seat. You don't have to take any fight you don't feel like. Anytime you feel you're at a disadvantage, you effectively have the reset button on Falstad. And Flavor Flav is potentially on an island. He drops that portal. He gets the heck out of there.
Yeah, and see, this is actually a really good time. This is a tribute that the good thing for Envenom is it's in a very safe spot. This is behind their wall. It makes it super easy for them, and they can get this if they want to. And the fact that they're not 16 again, they don't have to fight this. But it looks like they're preparing. They're going to be able to thwart off a little bit of damage. Hardwood dodging the Stormbolt just barely. The orb misses as well. Dorian is going in deep. Lord, Dorian taking a lot of damage.
Good lord, that burst damage. Johanna's not the hero you want to see drop that fast. A nice sanctification turns into a 2-0 so far. Doug Funny finds nothing to laugh about with this burst damage and chase from Arcandial. The Stormbolt lands to fly forward, Force of Will, Mighty Gust, goodbye, Vala.
It's how it goes, Falstad. You know... Oh, that was...
Wave of Force.
Okay, so that's 2 Wave of Forces that are just phenomenal. And I want to talk about Wave of Force versus Medivh. It's something that I saw Breeze do from Fnatic up in Europe, right? Is that the minute Medivh throws down a portal, you see somebody going near it, you have some type of displacement. He was using somebody like ETC with that face melt. Anybody that has any type of displacement whatsoever, like a Wave of Force, you go to get in that, all you need is a brief second, some type of follow-up. And it works really well. Boy, they are going hard on Dorian. Johanna, it's going to be another curse here, Halorn.
I mean, Trilobit feels emboldened, and why wouldn't he? Like, Johanna is getting absolutely melted by these orbs. The glass cannon pickup getting value, and no one's been able to apply pressure to Li Ming, so he's just been back there having a good time.
All right, it's 16-14. They're looking to engage. The polybomb is going out. Arcandio gets the D shield, but now we see one person goes down, Tiro, but he's going to get a ton of value as he explodes there, gets the kill onto Johanna. The rest of the team very low. The resets are coming in. 2 members down. The orb lands. They're going to get another kill. Trilobit is a god right now. He is unkillable. He has almost twice as much damage as anybody in the game. And it's all because of the resets, and his team is putting him in position. They're going for the kill. I mean, this is a keep going down. I mean, they're in a good enough position. They look like they're posturing to go for the game, which I don't see that happening. They're just not doing enough damage onto this fort quick enough for this keep. They might go in.
I mean, Trilobit is 100% the MVP of this game thus far. Flavor Flav,
I just really like how well he's landing his skill shots. His magic missiles have been on point.
oh yeah, I mean, he's been poking them in the eye, the face, and everything else with those orbs. It's been tough. Like I said, Dorian on Johanna, you don't see a Johanna get melted that fast that often. It's been rough.
Envenom, again, without hesitation, making the right call. Now, imagine if that had turned out to where they traded bosses earlier. This would be another opportunity for them to trade bosses again. Instead, you know what's going to happen is that this boss is going to be pushing top lane. By the time this starts rotating over, we're going to see Envenom rotate down or potentially push with it to try for another keep. And they can do whatever they want right now. The other boss is up, and that other boss could be game ending because there's no keep in the way anymore. This is about as GG as it gets, man.
I mean, Envenom has played this game near perfectly. The one saving...
Oh!
I think the Holy Ground actually saved them. The Rain of Vengeance is going to keep him alive, but Brightwing is gone. The forward roll from Falstack Chase continues. Medivh drops it.
Who needs a boss when you can just kill the entire team? Feels bad, man. Nice again! And the magic missiles. I'm putting my headset off. I'm walking away. Trilobit, too good.
I mean, Pepperidge Farms is going to remember that one for sure. This is definitely the ball game. The Mighty Gus actually saving Vala, curiously enough, but...
What league are we in? Because this Envenom...
This is a placement. This is the thing that can happen in these placement division games. People show up with different levels of play, and it can shock and awe the opponent.
Got him. Dude, Trilobit landed his shots, but as a team, Envenom looked amazing. By the way, Trilobit had 10 kills.
That's... I mean...
Is it Trilobit? Trilobit? Trilobit?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We want to get that man's name right. Because that was impressive. I
couldn't be more impressed. Their rotations were flawless. You know, they took the lead. Again, level 9 versus level 9. Against the curse, against that tribute, secured the curse. They got the kill. They got value out of it. They rotated up for boss. They made all the right calls. And if you go back, if Pepperidge had just got their boss instead of the siege camp first or the bruiser camp, this game would still be going on. But that mistake right there shows the difference between somebody that knows what they're doing versus somebody that kind of knows what they're doing, but not quite.
In Heroes of the Storm, subtle differences can really make themselves apparent in a big way. And we started to see some of that. Again, looking at just the raw composition alone, so much rode on the shoulders of Kerrigan. If he wasn't able to land 2-3 person stuns reliably in those team fights, Trilobit, as he's telling us in the chat, was landing those orbs, landing those magic missiles, and that was rough.
The magic missile accuracy was about as good as it gets. Like, there was some, like, I think I saw him miss one, and I was like, feels bad, man. But outside of that, like, it was really good stuff. I was really impressed. But again, he landed the shots, but his team as a whole, they played everything that they needed to play. The Tyrael pickup was brilliant. I said that they can't really go like a melee assassin. They definitely didn't want to go triple range. The Tyrael pick was brilliant.
Mm.
Their drafting was phenomenal. The Oriole ban was huge. I mean, from draft to beginning to end of the game, I think this is about as good as it gets, man. Like they looked really good.
I mean, that's sometimes the pitfall of going first pick carry. If you put yourself in a situation where the enemy team can shore up their front line, have a double warrior, have things like divine shield and sanctification, it's gonna be hard to get value out of that Kerrigan, and then she's just kind of standing there forward in a really rough spot. Force of will is not going to be enough to deal with Trilo Bits Li Ming.
I'm still gonna go with Trilobit now, just because it's more fun.
Just one thing I was going to say though, one of the only saving graces that Pepperidge Farms remembers had there is at level 16. Let me see what talent Medivh went for. He went for Circle of Protection. Okay,
I didn't even know
I
they
was
got
like,
to 16.
I was like, they could have gone for reabsorption because the amount of burst that was going on to people, that would have effectively been like an ancestral healing every 5 seconds. Because that was tough.
Hardened focus for Uther. I mean, I got bad news for him. They were getting the hell beat out of him. He wasn't going to be at 80% life.
I mean, that was a wild game.
Hell no, that was a damn good game by Envenom.
I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys in action more.
I just would have loved to see. And again, Pepperidge Farms, they lost the curse, like the very first curse. That was a big mistake. The only way they could have got back in it was to take their boss and then look for a fight before 16. And if it doesn't, they still have 2 more tributes to be able to get to, or excuse me, to get to 13. They could add a couple more tributes. And that's the only way when you get down like that to kind of come back unless you catch somebody out. But in terms of looking to straight up 5-on-5 team fight, that's really the only way, at least I see competitive. That's the only way that works. And they didn't do that. So it's something they can definitely learn from.
Yeah, I mean, as a shot caller, one of the, I feel, requirements out of managing your strategy for Cursed Hollow, after the curse, whether you've had it or not, the next question becomes, can we trade bosses, or can we potentially out-rotate and get both bosses? If Pepperidge Farms members just went straight to their boss after that curse, they would have been able to pick theirs up by the time Envenom got the one in the top right corner. And then at the very least, they just would have traded. It would have forced a response out of Envenom. It would have slowed things down enough. But giving Envenom...
I want to break that down a little bit further. Like Murden, Arcandiel, he rotated down just to like catch vision to see if they were on it. And even if they were on it, he's on Murden and he would have survived. And then they rotated Tyrael down midway. That way they could show the threat of 2 people and 2 basically unkillable targets at that point. And so the fact that they recognize that if they do that, because what I see even at the pro level is that if you rotate somebody like a Murden and then you rotate a Tyrael down in the middle of that, it will actually scare people off of the boss. And if that doesn't leash, then that team that faked the invade actually is there to invade. They take the boss because you had to back off so far because you were scared. And so like the minimal stuff that they did, it still could have worked in another way. So again, they did a lot of stuff right. I think that one moment at the curse and then that moment there shows a really high skill level in terms of understanding the map and understanding rotations. Like they showed a lot of good stuff.
It was cool to see. I mean, students of the game. Like that. That's what I would call it. Envenom, when a team can play with that kind of precision, it makes maps that aren't necessarily snowbally look incredibly snowbally. Like they had contingencies, like you said. They had Murden down there, spot out the boss if Pepperidge Farms members went for it, and like you said, could have potentially forced them back and then go ahead and invade it anyway. It just seemed like they got one step ahead and then they just used that to get like 4.
Good games though.
Oh yeah, that was a ton of fun. That one goes into the record books as a victory for Envenoms. GG's all around. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to cast you guys. Firemage says Pepperidge Farms need to remember to trade bosses after turn. I mean,
I think he's going because I'm harping on it. So,
in my opinion, though, I think that was the defining moment. if a team is able to get a curse and then both bosses afterwards, like the team on the other end of that pretty much just can sit there for the next like 2.5 minutes. Like they're just stuck in their base responding. And
like, again, it was the curse, and then that after the 2 bosses, it was basically GG. Like Envenom would have had to throw in real hard to lose that game after the 2 bosses.
yeah, I mean,
they almost just so we put that into perspective. The D shield that came out on Emerden to keep him alive, and then the sanctification that was there. Tyrael died afterwards, but they were able to parlay that into a few more kills. They almost threw it there because they were 15-13, and I said if things get hairy, they can back off. The fact that they were able to pull that fight out, they almost like let Pepperidge back in the game. I'm just saying that was like their one like, oh shit, like is this the right thing to do moment? But they were able to pull it out.
yeah, it was definitely an act of confidence to go in there. They had more to lose than to gain for sure in that situation. It would have taken like a Brett Favre, like, I'm just going to cover my eyes and throw the ball downfield. And then, the guy called it, touchdown, cool. I meant to do that. Like, it would have taken one of those
Clearly.
for Pepperidge Farms to really try to turn it around at that point. But that was a lot of fun. I do have another game to cast in 40 minutes. So I was going to take a little bit of a break. Are you going to be around, Jay? You want to join me for that one? Or
I'll let you know in 30. Chances are kind of low because I'm tired.
All right.
But I'm going to play a game in the meantime.
Here's some incentive. One of the team names,
$20?
Boys to Chin.
Oh my god.
This is they've been in the amateur tournaments. They were in the PAX West qualifiers.
Boys, Chin, boys.
ABC, BBD, East Coast family. Fire Mage says, we know you can cast, but what hero are you best on or like the most? I'm probably best on Muradin. Who I like the most?
Butcher.
I was about to say, these days it's pretty much a tie between Butcher and Dahaka. Like, throwing meta aside, throwing everything else aside, what's fun to play, you land those max length drags on someone, you pull them out of position, and you know that you got the kill. Feels good.
You know, I think Butcher's good, but I think they need to like up his speed on his charge
I can see that.
by like 200%.
200? I mean, that would be a cannonball. That would be a lot.
I would love it.
It'd be fun, for sure. It'd be fun. And stop getting it. Arcanio says you misclick and stop getting the objective. Man can dream. Hey, Zoya and Dunk, they're champions for eating that ghost pepper. I don't think I would have done all that.
I can't. I had. Do you guys have Tijuana Flats up there?
I don't know.
You would know it if you did.
Yeah,
Either way, they
probably
have
not.
like a sauce bar. I have like the very first one, which is a smiley face, and it still is like hot to me. I have like 0 spice tolerance.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it personally. Lauren, tons of fun to be played and casted. Cheers from Envenom. Thanks, man. I'm glad I got to cast you guys. That was a fun game. You'll look back at Divide and be like, yeah, they liked our play. They liked our play a lot.
I predicted the future on all their calls, so just saying they made all the right ones. Like 0 hesitation. That was my favorite part. Like all the little stuff they did was good.
Fireman said you cast these to make a team and play some chair league. Actually, J Howe is on a team with
I don't get to play because I'm bad.
Rip. Oh, you can play, man. You're in there. But
they won't let me play because I'm bad.
Damn. Well, J Howe is on a team. He's on the roster. Team Space Bear. They got Trixler, Dreadnought, Dunk Train, Rarier, J Howe.
Rarjar, not Rarier.
Rarjar. I always get those mixed up.
And Biceps.
And Biceps.
And Chef.
And Trixler and Biceps like to play Cho'Gall, and then their name is Triceps, so it's pretty funny. But I also have a team. I started the 85 DeLoreans. So we'll be playing our first game next week. I think it'll be fun. And JL, if they don't put you in, coach, come rock and roll with the DeLoreans for a little bit.
Should we make a trade?
Well, I'll get in touch with Team Space Bears people.
Buy out my contract?
See if we can buy that contract out. Get you over there. That'd be cool.
I'm gonna go kill people in the game now.
Yep. All right. So he's gonna go kill people. I'm gonna take a short break. I'll be back at 10:30 Eastern for another game. Potentially Jay Hal will be here as well. He is one of the busiest men and heroes of the storm. So you gotta get your rest, man.
See what happens. Coming soon. TM.
Hey. But for now, this is Lauren, joined by the king of the replay, the interview, and more, Jay Hal himself. And I'll be back in a little bit. Thanks, guys.
See you, man.